right. We're live. Yes, we are live. All right. 3, 2, 1, and blast off. Oh. All right. All right, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I'm Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool.
Sean, today we are going to be discussing, no guest on today. We're going to be discussing a few random topics. One is something we were going to cover last week, but we decided to save it for this week.
Yeah.
So we'll just give you a hint. It's called the 3-step hypnotic selling process. And so that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. It's
do you have anything to add to that?
I don't know. I mean, we're going to talk about trances and
hypnosis, hypnotic
psychology.
I'm gonna be dangling a beer right here.
Yeah. So it's
sleepy.
Yeah, it's a kind of it's not really a course, but it's a collection of stuff I found on. I think I found it on Warrior Forum. Somebody emailed me a link to it. Somebody's listing them on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. It's, some stuff a lot of people have heard before. I thought they did a really good job putting it together, though. So, yeah, I think it'll be fun for people to listen to. And then I've got we'll talk about a little bit of what shall we say? I'm gonna give an example. We talk all the time. There's really only 3 ways to grow a business. You can get more customers. You can get those customers to buy more, or you can get them to buy more often. Right? That's really the only 3 ways. So one of those ways, I got a postcard in the mail, and I'll talk about who the company is and what they did that I thought was pretty cool and got my attention, and will probably as well get my money here shortly. So,
cool. I love it.
And then a new toy, digital toy that I got that we can talk about, and then anything else that comes up. So that I think is already making me think a little better.
I think you're seeing a trend back to this area.
Yeah, for sure. You mentioned a product, so we'll talk about that. We'll talk about there's people are noticing a need for this class of product, this device, and it is another device, but it's I think they're going to get more and more popular as we move
I do too. So. I think with the let's just say with the world of distraction and social media and chaos, people are looking for an escape and an area where they can just kind of think clearly away from all of the noise. So
absolutely. So speaking of noise, let's talk about beer.
All right.
And we'll annoy some people with beer banter while they're waiting for the other content. We have to make sure we switch this up a little more often so that they don't know how far to fast forward when we talk about this.
That's right. Maybe we should do these like right in the middle.
Yeah.
By the way, we're going to break away for a minute and talk about what we're having today.
All right. So I'll kick it off. I am finishing up the Yeti series from my gift pack that I bought. I'm a little nervous about this one. Again, because the last one I was nervous about, and it ended up being really good. But this one is the S'mores Yeti. So there's the Yeti. If you're on the video, there's Yeti roasting a marshmallow over a fire. Again, this is from the Great Divide Brewing Company out of Colorado. And there's no... Oh, there it is. 9.5% ABV. So,
oh, wow.
This says, reach for S'mores Yeti and find yourself transported to a cozy campfire setting without ever leaving the comfort of your home. Through enjoying this decadent treat fireside, enjoying this decadent treat fireside is definitely encouraged, enjoy all the taste of the classic campsite dessert blended with the rich roasty, so that word roasty, we talked about this last week, roasty malt flavor of Yeti Imperial Stout, a beer for telling tales and creating new ones. So like all the other ones, it's super dark, no head, in my Yeti glass.
Oh, wow.
So I've been letting this one air out because I found that these like really strong imperial stouts, they need to air out a little bit before you drink them.
Yep.
So what do you got over there?
Hold that up one more time. Can I see that one more time? Because
yes,
that was oh, that's beautiful.
I was on another podcast today, Love Line for Business, and they mentioned our podcast, and they were like, "You seem to like really dark beers," and I was like, "Yeah, that's true.
Absolutely,
that is a trend on the show for sure." So what do you got over there?
Well, mine's not so dark today. I have a nice lager. Oh man, if I can open it. So we had this brewing company on before. It's Einstock. Remember, what do we call this? We call this the Thor beer or the Viking beer.
Yeah, it looks like, I remember that.
So, but we never, that was I believe it was a their Arctic Porter that I had, and
I don't think it did real well.
It didn't do real well. Yeah, I that stands out to me. I don't know if it's the association with the Viking or what, but I just remember this one didn't do well. This brand didn't do well, but the lager, I don't know. So I thought I would give it a try. It's something new at the local establishment. So I thought, I'll pick it up and give it a try.
Yeah, I remember I think it was like a 4-pack of the porter last time.
Yep.
Either 4 or 6-pack, but it had a really cool label, that probably that same-ish colorish, that kind of silver blue, which stands out a little bit.
Yep.
That's got quite a head on it.
Yeah. So let's see. Let me give you a little brief description here, because I think there's a little citrus going on in this, I believe.
Looks like it. It's got a little bit of cloudiness to it.
It says Iceland's magnificent glaciers draw curious legions from around the world. Experience Iceland at its best by tasting our Arctic lager, brewed with Munich and Pilsner malts and dry hopped with Citra and Citra cryo hops. They just dip it into a cryogenic chamber or something?
I guess so.
Arctic lager delivers a full aroma, delicious flavor, and crisp, refreshing taste for all adventurous Vikings. Let's see, 4.7 ABV. So pretty weak on the alcohol there.
So I wonder if cryo hops is, I wonder if when it freezes, it like cracks open some flavors. Cause I know like if you use broccoli or broccoli sprouts, I don't know if you ever made broccoli sprouts for like smoothies and stuff, but when you freeze them, it cracks something in them and it releases the sulfuranes or something. I can't remember what it's called, but so I wonder if that's what's going on with the cryo hops.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you may be right. So what are Citra cryo hops?
Yes.
Citra cryo hops undergo a cryogenic process in which the whole leaf hops are separated into concentrated lupulin. Lupulin to preserve their essential oils and resin. All at extremely low temperatures. The procedure results in a more potent, hoppy, and citrusy taste. So you were kind of onto something there, Sean. A citrusy taste that completes the flavor. When they then use the dry hopping method to with the Citra cryo hops to impart the most flavor forward aspect of the hops without adding any bitterness. So so it kind of helps to
more taste, less bitterness.
Yeah, less bitterness. Take away some of that bitterness, but give it a little more fruitier flavor without the bitterness, I guess.
As like was that Miller Lite?
Yep.
More taste, less filling.
Yeah, exactly.
More taste, less bitter.
Let's see. So that's your little lesson today for Citra cryo hops.
Yeah, I mean, for you home brewers, like
it's fancy, man.
There's a whole nother level for you to go to.
Absolutely.
Get you some dry ice and do some cryo citro hopping.
That's right. I never knew.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, cheers.
Cheers. Oh. That is good.
Really?
That is amazing. Yeah.
Really?
I'm surprised. I'm pleasantly surprised for a lager and one that is not very strong. That is really good. It's not better. So whatever they're doing in this cryo process is working, because that takes the bitterness right out.
Yeah, so don't cry in your beer, but cryo hopping in your beer is fine.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
There you go.
Still always late with that, I tell you.
They should do t-shirts like cryo hopping in my beer.
I got to tell you, man, I'm really, because I was expecting.
Well, it has that little bit of an IPA look to it.
It does, but I'm
it's
telling you, a little
bit cloudy.
There is no, yeah, it's actually a little bit cloudy. That is delicious. Yeah. That is absolutely delicious.
It's got like a nice dry finish, kind of like a Japanese beer.
Yeah, very dry. No kind of bitter aftertaste at all whatsoever.
Be a good lake beer. Good lake beer right there.
Perfect on the lake.
Yeah,
perfect on the lake. Right. Okay, so Einstock, they didn't do well in that first rating, but I think I'm going to give them. I think I'm going to give this one a 4.4.
Wow, for a lager, that's some good stuff right there.
It's a tasty lager. I
like that. I'm going to have to go find that. Yep. And that one I'm pretty sure is nationwide. I think I've seen that around. So, yeah. All right, for my Great Divide S'mores Yeti Imperial Stout. This one is good. Again, it's not too sweet.
Yep.
It's just right. I don't taste a ton of s'mores, which is probably actually good in this case, because sometimes those get a little overpowering. So I'm gonna give this a 4. Like, it's just a good imperial stout, not overpowering, and it could probably use a little more graham cracker. That would be good.
a little not. What about the marshmallow? No,
I don't know.
Got enough marshmallow there?
I mean, marshmallows don't have a lot of taste if you really think about it. It's just like sugar fluff. So there's not a lot of taste to a marshmallow. Unless it's like a Lucky Charms, but even those aren't great. That's what's funny. Needs a Lucky Charms of beer. There we go.
Oh, man.
Magically delicious.
Magically.
Yeah, all right. No, this solid 4.
Solid 4.
Good.
Good.
Yep.
Good. Yeah.
All right. Well, let's jump into. I sent you last week. I sent you a book, PDF. Hopefully, I don't get accused of copyright violation here. Called Brainvertise. We bought it through the company, so I guess we both got it that way.
Yeah.
Brainvertise: The New Psychology of Digital Marketing. I think I got this from. It was an email Matt Basak sent out from his list, but the author is a copywriter named Johann Mock.
Yeah.
And I've not heard of him, but he seems to be pretty good at what he does. So it's a pretty nice pack it was one of those Warrior Forum type deals, like a dime sale. So it was really cheap. So if you search Brainvertise, you might be able to find it in the Warrior Forum. I don't have an affiliate link, but he has a book, and then it has all kinds of like little breakout things, infographics, lists, copy cheat sheets, that kind of stuff, transitions, templates, all that kind of stuff. So pretty cool stuff. So we'll kick off with that one. And I'm curious, Jonathan, what you found. We've talked about some of this stuff, but it's always good to kind of get a slightly different angle on some of these proven principles. So what jumped out for you?
So there's some tie-in to, we've talked about Joe Vitale in the past with his hypnotic writing, and which is an excellent book. He's Hypnotic Selling. Is that hypnotic? No, Hypnotic is his hypnotic writing, but it's a great book. I think we've referenced it on more than one occasion on this show. If you just go to persuasionbythepint.com, if you do a quick search for hypnotic writing, you'll find it. It's a great, we spent some time on it, but To me, he's always been a fantastic writer, but so there's some tie into that. But I like the he calls him, he references Joe Vitale. He had the 3-step hypnotic selling process. So the step one, what do your prospects believe right now? Well, this is their current trance they're in. If we talk about hypnotism, the current trance that all of your customers, all of your prospects out there that you're looking to market to, they have their own belief system. So, and that's their state.
Yeah, and their trance is, to kind of expand on that, it's kind of that dominant thought running their day, So if they wake up and they think, oh, hate my job, I don't want to go to work today,
right?
Or these kids are driving me crazy, I can't believe I've got to take care of them again today. Why don't they go back to school because it's summer?
Yeah.
Why don't we have year-round school?
Right.
Like whatever the dominant thought is, that's a trance that they're in. And you got to be able to step into that trance to really get it. So you really have to understand, and I talked about this with the 4 E's that we talked about, finding out where they are in their journey and kind of jumping into that point. And we've talked about this in a lot of different ways. So but we keep saying it because it's super important.
Sure. Yeah.
It is marketing, the business of marketing and selling. Yeah.
Yeah. Marketing, we've talked about this so many times. When you're marketing something, you're not selling something. You're tying into, you want to tie into their belief system. You don't want to retrain their belief system. That's the last thing. That's way too much work. And so you have to basically meet them where they are in their belief system. Prime example in golf. I use this a lot, obviously, but people, when they sell me things, they don't tell me how bad I am or how much better I need to be because of how bad I am. What they do is they basically enter the conversation that I have, is to say that if I could only change a few things here, and it's really not anything that I'm technically doing wrong. For the most part, I think I'm doing things the right way. And they'll say, yeah, for the most part, it's not like you're doing anything completely wrong. It's just that you haven't been taught, or you haven't learned this particular method or used this particular product. Right. And that meets me where I am, because I'm constantly saying it's not my fault deep inside, right? That's what I'm telling myself. It's not it's got to be some little tweak.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm missing one little,
one little thing.
Right. Yeah. I, on the other hand, if somebody was marketing to me about golf, they would be like, you're doing everything wrong. Like, we just got to start over.
Right.
In fact, let's pick a different sport.
Yep.
So,
but most people that are playing golf, I'll tell you this, most people that are playing golf want to believe, regardless of whether they're right or not. Most of us golfers are really self-deceived, right?
Yeah.
We are completely self-deceived. We're not honest with ourselves at all. So that's why we get hit. And that's why we fall prey to so many marketing ads for golf products all the time, because it's like, really, you're doing everything right. And trust me, I was there. I was right there. And I did the same thing. And it's just, all you've got to do is this. This is the one thing I didn't know about. I'm like, yeah, you're exactly right. I'm not doing everything wrong. So,
yeah. So, the step one is, what do your prospects believe right now? That's their current trance.
Right.
And the way you might phrase that, if you're trying to get into what they might be thinking, especially if you're not that person, like if you're selling golf equipment, but you're not really a regular golfer for whatever reason, then you want to find out what a golfer is thinking when they say, if I could just blank,
sure,
then I'd feel good about my golf game. Right. Or whatever, right? So if I could just blank, like whatever that blank is where you need to kind of start the conversation. And then you go into step 2, which is which is kind of what you were saying already, but agree with their beliefs and merge with them.
Yeah.
And the reason that's important is because it builds rapport.
Absolutely.
And the reason it builds rapport is because, and a lot of people miss this, one of the fastest ways to build rapport is to let people know that you understand what they're going through right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Empathy is another term for it that, we use empathy and persuasion a lot, but empathy is very powerful when you can, get on someone's level and let them know that you know exactly how they're feeling and how they're how they've, felt, how they believe this. And
even
more,
go ahead. Even more so, I was going to say, if you can describe it in words better than they can, like they just have this kind of feeling and this thing, but if you can put it into words, they're like, yeah, that's what I've been feeling. That's what I've been thinking. That's that's what's going on. Because to them, it's a little more nebulous. So a good marketer will be able to find the words that the prospect can't find, but as soon as they hear them, they're like, yes, that's it.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, when you really want to buy something, that's what just happened.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, whether it's a commercial or print or whatever, a conversation, like you hear somebody talk, you're like, that's exactly right. I didn't even realize it, but yes, it just like immediately resonates, and that's what creates the rapport.
Yeah.
Because then you're thinking, wow, these people know me so well. They must have the answer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The last thing you want to do is go counterintuitive, right? Or counter to what their belief system is. And that's where a lot of people make the mistake is, I'm going to teach you a different way, or I'm going to basically
change your mind,
change your whole mind. And honestly, I've seen some, I was mentioning to you recently a sales ad that I was seeing over and over on Facebook, and I don't know how successful it was, but they went, we always talk about the belief system, the copy where we always have used it's not your fault. Right. And that's part of that merging with their belief system or in showing empathy. It's like, we realize that it's not your fault. Right. And so that's, that's meeting them there. But I've seen lately a lot of, not a lot, but I've seen one ad in particular. And I'm just curious. I would always be curious of how successful it was, but it's for, in fact, one of our guests that was previously on that runs a coaching company, but he's going counter to that says, yeah, it is your fault.
Yeah.
But I think, here's why.
Yeah. But I do think there's a part of the market that believes that they've tried enough of the other stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
That they're like, well, maybe it is my fault. Like, I think there is a segment of the population, and that we talked about this a long time ago with Eugene Schwartz. And, as the market gets more sophisticated, you have to up the thing. So I think that's what's happening in a lot of these products and the areas is the people have tried enough things that they realize, well, maybe it is my fault. Like, maybe I didn't actually complete that course, or maybe I didn't finish reading the book, or maybe I didn't try as hard at weight loss, or I just got lazy on my diet, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
You kind of know it's your fault. So I think that's the people it gets to, the people that have kind of moved through that and tried a few solutions. I think that's where that message hits. So you have to know your audience and where they are in that journey.
Right.
And then just be willing to double down on that idea.
Yeah.
Because I think as much as we like to deceive ourselves, it's also somewhat difficult to do. Like, deep down, we know, yeah, it's kind of my fault.
Yeah.
So I think that's what they're tapping into for sure.
Right. But we want to sometimes we want to be assured, that it's not, or that it's, because quite frankly, when I would watch these ads, I'd be like, oh man, but you're right. There's certain people that get to a point in their belief system where they say, you know what, I've tried everything and maybe it is my fault. So,
well, on the same topic, I actually believe this is one of the reasons. I actually think if you don't address this area that we're talking about when you're trying to sell courses, especially
Mhm.
and information products and even like diet products and things like that. A lot of things where people have bought multiple versions of the same thing.
Yeah.
Golf equipment could be another one. I do think that it's useful to go down that road because I think there's a lot of people who they know they didn't put their best foot forward for whatever reason.
Sure.
Right. So they know they didn't set aside the time, or they know they didn't whatever. So I think you tap into that, but then you give them an out. It's like you thought you were doing the best you could. You know you dropped the ball here. You didn't set aside the time.
Right.
But what you didn't know was this. So you can still work the "it's not your fault" in, and that may be what that ad you're looking at is missing.
Right.
Just be like, yeah, it is your fault. I mean, ultimately, it's your responsibility. The buck stops with you. You got to do that. But you probably don't realize that this part of your brain chemistry is off.
Sure.
So you actually don't. You're doing that just out of repetition and habit.
Yeah.
So you could work it back in, even if you led with "it is your fault." You could work the "it's not your fault" idea back in. And I think that would be more effective. I just watched a new coaching service. I don't know if it's new, but it's called Commit Action. It's a great sales page if you want to study a good sales page.
Yeah.
I was looking at it because the company I'm with now, we have a similar service in the same price range. So I was like, okay, what are they doing versus what we're doing, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But they did a really good job of this, of just what you're talking about. They kind of met you where you are. But they did a really good job of kind of laying out, like, literally, like what's going on in your brain, what the research says, why it's so difficult, what you're missing. They just did a really good job over like 5 or 6 videos of laying out. So it really didn't feel like it was your fault.
Right. Right.
You know? So yeah, I think it's still going to work. I think "it's not your fault" is still going to work better, you know, than going at for the majority of the population.
Yeah, absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
So step 1 was to, what do your prospects believe right now? Find out what their current trance is. Step 2 was agree with their beliefs and then begin to merge with them. So you create rapport. And then step 3 was to lead their beliefs into your offer. And this is like from, you know, I mean, he actually references Robert Collier, who's from, you know, the 1930s.
Oh yeah.
Eugene Schwartz talked about it in Breakthrough Advertising. It's like, you don't create desire, you link the existing desires in the marketplace to your product.
Right.
Which I think is what he's saying in step 3 is lead their beliefs into your offer. So how do you, that's the bridge that as a marketer you have to build. What are their current beliefs, doubts, hopes, fears, whatever? Here's your product. How do you build a bridge of logic and emotion and everything else that gets from their current beliefs to your product is the answer to their next step of life?
Yeah, you don't want to struggle to go against. It's like trying to go against the grain. You know, it's such a. You know, you mentioned. You know, you think about the. You know how the the salmon when they're making their way upstream. You know, just working their way up. That's why I envision when you're trying to. Whenever you're trying to persuade somebody against their current belief system, it's really such a challenge. It's like swimming upstream.
And typically very expensive.
Very expensive because you have to, I mean, it's somebody's belief system wasn't formed overnight. Right. So,
yeah. and I think you see that because it used to be a lot of, especially the big brands. And I think this is where branding got a bad name. Is when they would try to convert people from one brand to another, right? When you try to go from Tide to whatever, you know, to all, trying to think of some other brands, but you know, Procter and Gamble can play that game, right? Because they got the money, but even they don't really do that anymore.
No,
I mean, they really, I think, are continually selling and reselling their current customers as much as anything. Because it's so difficult to change that buying habit. Because a lot of those, especially household goods, a lot of those are generational.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people tend to buy what their parents bought, until there's, a big difference or a new innovation or something like that.
Yeah.
So it can be very, very expensive to try to get someone to switch solutions when they already have a solution that's pretty much working.
Sure.
So you either have to find a bigger problem that you can link your product to, or a different problem that you can link your problem to, your solution to. I think that's why branding gets a bad name. There's a lot of branding that's, we've talked about this, it works really well, and there's a lot of positives to it, especially with neuromarketing and neuropsychology and all that stuff that goes on. All right.
Let's give an example. Let's give an example of this in action. So he uses an example from a quote dating guru, right? So here's an example from a from an ad on a website. So here's the going through. Let's review our 3-step process. Step 1, what do your current prospects believe right now? That's their current trance.
Right.
Agree with their beliefs to merge with them. That's building rapport.
Yep.
And lastly, lead their beliefs into your offer. So here's an example. Are you sick of hearing "let's be friends" from women? Again, this is a dating ad. Are you sick of hearing let's be friends" from women? That's the current trance, that's where you are.
Yeah, you're waking up, you're about to go out on Friday night, and you're like, if I hear one more chick tell me "let's just be friends," I'm gonna shoot myself. Like
that's right.
That's just the thing going on in your head. Okay.
All right. So second part of that, perhaps you feel you have to keep settling for women you accidentally get instead of enjoying the ones you really want. Okay. So that's rapport, right? You're saying perhaps you feel this may be the way you feel. Either way, there's just one reason for it. Okay. So you start leading them into.
Yes, I knew it. I knew there's a reason. I'm just accidentally getting people. I don't really love that phrase, but I get the point.
Yeah, I
don't you really want.
Yeah, this isn't the greatest example ad that they're using here, but then lastly, the nutrients, step 3. You haven't learned to create the kind of intense emotional states in women that make them want you, right?
Yeah.
So, first,
and now you're like, oh, what kind of intense emotional states should I be creating?
Right.
And and then you're hooked. Like you're buying from there, right? I mean, it's like you're missing this one,
just one thing,
swing technique.
There's one reason for it, Sean. There's only one reason. All of these reasons why, you haven't found the right person, you're struggling in the dating scene it comes down to one reason.
Yeah. You don't understand. You haven't learned to create the kind of intense emotional states in women that make them want you.
That's right.
You could do that going back to golf. It's like you haven't learned the proper pre-shot routine.
Sure.
That sets you up for the perfect swing every time.
Yep.
Something like that, right? It's like, oh, it's not the swing, it's the pre-shot routine. And I've been working on my swing all this time.
Right.
But it's the pre-shot routine. And you could easily sell that, right? I mean,
well, there's a product out there that does exactly that, these practice trainer shots. And that's exactly what they say. Oh, all you need to do, the one thing, again, going back to that one thing, you just need to warm up with this trainer, right? It's called I think it's called a lag shot that I've seen, but it's modified. It's a modified 7-iron that it's a practice. It's kind of a rubbery look. So it helps you to understand, it helps you kind of modify your swing so that you're kind of, instead of hitting it hard.
It's like a muscle memory tool.
It is. It's a muscle memory training tool, right?
Yeah.
And so they say, well, I remember the website that says all you need is to swing this thing like 12 times before you tee off, and you'll be set, right? You'll never hit another slice. You'll never hit another hook. You'll be straight down the fairway if all you do is swing this thing 12 times. So I'm like, oh my gosh, these ads, I mean, they prey upon this so often, is just to say they're meeting you where you are. Gosh, I knew it. There's that one thing. I wasn't doing my practice swing, and I need a trainer to kind of, practice swinging back and forth before I tee off. But
yeah, I mean, that's true in just about anything. I mean, weight loss, they use this all the time in different ways. If you just, if you knew this one thing.
Absolutely.
And it's funny because, like, I had a conversation about this a while back with a copywriter. Usually you want like specifics in a headline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But if you say this one thing, it kind of sounds specific, but it's not specific at all. Like, if you really think about it, like this one thing, like there's nothing specific about, one, I guess, is specific, but this one thing is like the least specific word in the world. Like, it's just it's not specific at all. Mm-hmm. But it's amazing how powerful that is.
Yeah.
It's crazy. And every marketing campaign kind of comes back down to this, because you have to isolate something to talk about to get the power of one, which is true. And whether it's a blog post, even though listicles are really popular, like 7 this, 7 that, the more you can get down to one thing, the more powerful the copy becomes, and the easier it is to write.
Sure.
Because you're not trying to cover a whole bunch of stuff.
Right.
You can really hone in on the pre-shot routine, or how to create intense emotional states in women, or whatever it is. The one food pairing, that makes weight loss easy.
Right.
Something like that. It's funny how it just all kind of comes back to the same stuff, no matter how you slice and dice it.
Yeah, absolutely. So that's pretty much how, that was my big takeaway from that, the 3-step hypnotic sales process. And we'll post this on our show page for our listeners to access. But you got anything else on that one?
There's so much good stuff on this, so we'll just we'll poke a,
I will. Yeah, go ahead.
No, go ahead. If you don't cover this, I will. Go ahead with your thought.
I will mention real quick from this, which is really another good takeaway, and we'll probably post a link where people can find this little report. Yeah, but Joe Vitale says there are 26 reasons why people buy anything: to make money, to save time, to avoid effort, to get more comfort, to achieve greater cleanliness. That's interesting. To attain better health, to escape physical pain, to gain praise, to be popular, to attract the opposite sex, to conserve possessions. You see this in the financial industry, right? They're hammering people right now.
Even conserve possessions. That's really change your oil every 3,000 miles. Like, that's really what that's about, right?
That's right. Absolutely. To increase enjoyment, gratify curiosity, protect your family, life insurance, right?
Yep. Or Smith & Wesson, either one.
Smith & Wesson, exactly. To be in style, to have or hold beautiful possessions. Think about your status possessions, right?
Oh yeah.
The things that make you stand out. Why do we ultimately buy? Why do we ultimately pay money for something of enormous price for something that you can get, ultimately, what makes a person buy a Mercedes, right? It's not because they're trying to get from A to Z. It's because it's a status symbol.
Yeah. Rolex watch.
Absolutely.
Notoriously not good at keeping time.
But it looks great on your wrist, man.
Yeah. And that's actually the low end of luxury watches. Like if you really get into the watch market, you want to talk about a little rabbit hole you can go down from a marketing standpoint. The luxury watch market is insane how expensive some of that stuff can get.
Absolutely.
I mean, Rolex is literally the bottom of the luxury market.
It is. It's really the old, it's kind of a dated in this day and age.
It's kind of like a Corvette. Like it's like the old supercar.
Yeah.
You know, now there's Bugatti and, you know, everything else.
Speaking of which, I got to mention, so before I forget about it, there is an Apple Watch out there, and it's encrusted with diamonds.
Is that the Hermes? The Hermes
yeah.
Yeah. And the band to go with it and all that.
Total status product right there.
Oh, yeah. It's like, yeah, I got an Apple Watch, but
yeah,
I got a Hermes or whatever it's called, Apple Watch, right? Yeah, it's crazy. I think it's really interesting, and Dan Kennedy has a whole book on this. I think No BS Marketing to the Affluent. But there's a whole market out there that, if you don't know about it, like ultra luxury. If you want to know like what's really possible with marketing, like some of the crazy stuff people buy and how much they spend, is a good lesson in, like, if you really stop and think, why are people buying that?
Yeah.
Like what's really going on?
Right.
You really start to see these core human desires that, even though they have all this money, they're still trying to satisfy the same human desire as somebody buying something that's 1/1,000,000th, literally 1/1,000,000th the price.
Absolutely. Yep.
Continue your list.
Let's see. To satisfy appetite, to emulate others, to avoid trouble, to avoid criticism.
Ooh, that's a big one.
To be individual, to protect reputation, to take advantage of opportunities, to have safety, and to make work easier.
That is a good list. I was going to say this. I was going to mention that too. So, yeah, that list is, if you write on a regular basis or you market on a regular basis, if you were to pin that list to your cork board above your computer or wherever, have it in a note, sticky note or whatever on your computer.
Yeah, you should. This is definitely worth having somewhere close by as a reference, especially if you're a copywriter, if you're in sales, right? I mean, because you have to be, you know, when I'm in sales, I have to know people have their own agendas about everything. If you're a company, if you own a company, obviously your best interest is in, continuing your company surviving, your company growing, for that matter, thriving, doing well. And so that's, as a company, as a business owner, that is where you look at. However, if you're selling to somebody within the company that doesn't have a vested interest, that doesn't own the business, they have different, their cares are a little more, I mean, they vary a little, right? They're interested in their job, right? They're interested in making sure that they still have a job next week. And they don't do something stupid that would jeopardize that job. So your job, if you're selling, depending on who you're selling to within an organization, is to meet them where they are. And if you're selling to an HR person, if you're selling to an engineer within a company, a process engineer who's responsible for improving their process, they're not about the bottom line, right? They're not about saving money. They're about improving their process to make them get accolades for themselves and hopefully a promotion to make themselves look better. So
exactly. I think what's interesting about this list too is that you could probably take one product and sell that one product with all. You could literally go through this entire list and find an angle for just about any product that would hit. Take a little thinking and take a little creativity, but I bet you could go from any of these reasons to your product if you sat down and thought about it.
Yeah.
Where it might be like, let's say you have a course on, how to start a Facebook ads agency. Well, that would sound like it's a to make money opportunity, and that would be the easy way to go. It might be to avoid effort. It might be a couple other things, but how would you use it to, let's say, gain better health or attract the opposite sex or, you know, avoid criticism? Like it's not that difficult if you slow down enough and kind of take out a legal pad or one of the devices we're going to talk about here in a minute.
Sure.
To really sit and think about it. You could say, okay, I'm selling a Facebook ads agency, how to start a Facebook ad agency course. You could probably talk about how that could give you better health because there's less stress in your workday because you're going to outsource and we're going to show you how to create a team around you so that all you have to do is, you know, meet with the clients once a week, and your outsourcers will handle all the details. You don't ever have to log into Facebook, and it's going to leave you time to go to the gym. You're going to be able to get healthier. You're going to lower your cortisol levels. Like you could go a whole promo just down that line, and talk about how a Facebook ad agency is the secret to saving your health and not dying early.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, and there's a certain market, stressed out executives that would be like, oh, I could be doing a Facebook ads agency instead of what I'm doing here and save my health because I just came back from the doctor and he said, I'm going to die have a stroke or a heart attack in 6 months if I don't do something about my health.
Yeah. Right.
You know, so like you could go anywhere with these, and that's what's fun about a list like this is it's a good brainstorming tool to get out of what you would normally do and what the rest of the market is doing.
Right.
And to approach it from a totally different angle. You know, so you could say, you know, want to meet the girl of your dreams? Start a Facebook ad agency.
Right. Yeah.
And people are like, what? And it's just enough like it doesn't make sense that you got their attention.
Right. Absolutely.
And then you can start unraveling how that's going to happen. And, you know, but if that hooks them, you know, that's the hardest part is getting their attention.
That's right.
All right. Yeah, there's all kinds of stuff like this. I mean, he gets in. One thing I like about this, he really gets into wordsmithing. Which, you know, a lot of you, if you've been following us a while, you remember us talking about Eugene Schwartz and his other book, The Brilliance Breakthrough. Yeah. It's literally a workbook on how to write to create pictures in people's minds. Yeah. And he goes actually into a lot of that stuff in this report as well. He talks about using, you know, very specific language. You know, he's given an example of like if you sold cars, right? He says, you know, why not if you were trying to sell somebody, you would say, hey, while you're at it, not having catch a whiff of the fresh new leather seats and the smell of the new car, feel the strong, sturdy steering wheel in his hands. You know, you want to get them out of their head and like visually and experiencing that. And a lot of people, this is the number one thing I correct on copywriters when I'm copy chiefing people is their stuff is too vague.
Yeah.
And their verbs aren't strong.
Sure.
There's not enough descriptive language to get people to like actually see something in their mind. Right. And that's the number one thing I have to kind of edit back into people's copy. Sure. But when you get good at that, like there's something about the brain, you know, it's the old idea. If you tell somebody not to think about a pink elephant, like they're going to think about it. It just pops in their head, whether they want it to or not. You can do the same thing with marketing copy. Imagine yourself, you know, working on your laptop at the edge of the pool. Yeah. You know, kids swimming. You take a call. Sure. Blah, 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 blah. You can paint that scene. I mean, one of the most famous headlines of all time, what we've talked about is the international living, you know, your gardener. Yeah, your gardener, your all that stuff. Like that's been around for 30 plus years because it's so visual.
Yeah,
and it's
absolutely.
just really powerful. So yeah, we'll put a link to this. But if we forget, Brainvertise book, looking like Warrior Forum, Warrior Forum, and you should be able to find it in there. And if you don't know about Warrior Forum, it's pretty good stuff in there. There's a lot of stuff in there, but there's some good stuff for really cheap prices. Just know you're going to be upsold 14,000 times.
Absolutely.
As you go through the funnel.
You just have to keep clicking the no.
Yeah, because I found like a lot of what you're after is in the first product.
Yeah, and, pretty much.
It's probably
a lot of the add-ons aren't that great anyway.
Yeah.
So just get what you came to get. So
yeah, have a little resistance and just get the one thing. If you're really sold after reading that one thing, you can always go back and find the other stuff.
Yep.
It's not that hard. I mean, and usually the main item is so cheap you could buy it twice and then go through the upsells if you remember something you wanted. All right. So moving on to another topic. This past week, I got a postcard in the mail. Can you believe they still send stuff in the mail, Jonathan?
I cannot believe it. Who goes to the mailbox anymore, right?
I know, right? I mean, why would you go to the mailbox? So this is from a company that I do business with on a regular basis. And they were like, hey, Sean does business with us on a regular basis. And we were listening to Jay Abraham, and he says that one of the ways to increase profits is to get your existing customers to buy more and to buy more often.
Right.
So we're going to send Sean a postcard with a picture of the last thing he bought on the postcard.
Wow.
So
that's pretty cool.
This is the postcard. It says your trainers over their mileage ? And it's the picture of the exact shoe that I bought about 6 months ago.
Great shoe, by the way. A good brand.
Yeah.
For sure.
And when I saw this, I was like, I don't know. Are my shoes over their mileage? I do walk a lot. I do walk 5 miles 3 or 4 times a week, like in these shoes. Like, maybe they are. I don't know. Let me flip the postcard over and see what it says. As I'm walking back from the mailbox with no phone in my hand. And it says, time to upgrade with a new pair. Get back out there with 15% off. Your next $49 plus order on Merrill. So save 15% basically for these shoes. Because can you buy shoes for anything less than $125 now? I don't think so.
Not really. No.
Seems like every shoe
is
$125 now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Free shipping, 15% off. It's not even a huge discount, really, to be honest.
Yeah.
But the fact that they showed the shoe that I bought, I don't know, there's something about this that just like, oh, that's the shoe in my closet. And that's the shoe I wear all the time when I go walk.
Sure.
Maybe it is worn out. And if it's not, maybe it's getting close. So I should, because, we all like to buy stuff.
Yeah.
We just don't like to be sold.
Yep.
So if I've got an excuse to buy a new pair, I'm
Absolutely.
like, okay, well, they are a little dirty. I don't know.
What a brilliant way. I mean, the exact shoe that you bought as a reminder.
Yeah. I mean, Brian Kurtz, who we've had on the show, would love that ad, I think.
Sure.
Because it's segmented, right? You're segmenting this to the people that bought this exact product. And I think that's the brilliance of it, is it's segmented out. And with like print on demand shipping and all that kind of, printing and all that stuff, it's so easy to do this if you just slow down enough to do it.
Sure.
It just, e-com companies, if you're not doing this, you're just totally missing out.
Yep. No doubt.
So,
lastly, you've got something really cool. A cool device. So let's set this up by saying, because we touched on it at the beginning of the show, right?
Yep.
People have a need to escape, right? People have a need to get away, whether it's vacation, get away from all the noise, or whether it's to work away from all the noise. They need some solitude and thinking, because there is a lot of noise out there today. And you're seeing a lot of products that are starting to market to the people who need some solitude, who need some quiet time away from the internet, away from social media, away from all of those distractions. And you've got something that you purchased recently, I think is really cool.
Yeah. So, you know, if you're going to be successful, period, regardless of industry, you're going to have to take some time to think without interruption, without a notification going off, without a screen in front of you, or like a, where notifications can come in, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Now, there's a couple things you can do. You can just like take a legal pad and a Sharpie, or a legal pad and a pen, and you can kind of go out and do your thing. And that works pretty well. But then if you get stuff, like let's say you were writing an ad or sales letter, now you got to go back and you got to like type that out and things like that. Right. So it's good because you got away, there's no notifications or anything like that. But then transferring it after you have it on the notepad tends to be a little bit of a thing that's easy to put off and procrastinate.
Sure.
Now, if you have an assistant, I guess you could just hand it off to them and it'd be done with, right? Not all of us have that though.
Right.
So the people in the market have noticed that, and so one of the devices that I heard about this device called the Remarkable Tablet.
I've seen ads on it on Facebook.
Yeah. And the first one was, it was okay, but it was the first edition. So this is the Remarkable 2, and it's the most recent version. It's pretty thin. If you look at right there. So it's thinner than an iPad. Yeah. It's got a nice shell on it, but basically it's like an e-reader as far as the look of it. It's the type of screen that it is. It's not a bright, iPad type screen. It's more of a e-reader type screen. And then what you can do, I got to turn it on, is it's basically a notebook that you can use. And let's see if we can do this here. Turn around. So it's got a pen with an eraser, by the way, if you buy the eraser version. And you could literally just write on it. I'm on the podcast or whatever, or, you could write podcast ideas. So you can just write on it.
Cool.
And then you can use
like a,
yeah. And it feels, what's cool about it is it feels like you're writing on a pad. And you can pick a couple different types of pens, markers, ballpoint pen, fine point, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But when you're done with it, it saves it to that notebook. So, it's one thing to have a legal pad, but like a lot of people, like myself anyway, I've got a journal over here, a legal pad over there, spiral notebook over there.
Yeah.
And like at any given point in my day, or if I'm
things
traveling
in different places, right?
Yeah. I'm like, oh, I've got an idea for that. Like, but I don't have that notebook handy. I've got the other one.
Right.
So you jot it down on just whatever notebook you can find.
Sure.
Then it's kind of out of place. It's not in the right spot. So you can just tap on your thing on your files, because this has a file structure like a computer. So you can create file systems. But then when you're done with it, you can either just save it here so it's there in the future, or you can actually convert it to text.
Yeah.
So I wrote, podcast ideas, and then I can just put convert to text, and it'll think a little bit, and it converts it to text.
Really cool. I love that.
It's pretty accurate. And then you hit another button, you can send it by, there's like a send button up top. You can send it to email or something like that. And it's mostly, it will sync with, they have an app that'll sync with your computer or your phone or other things. So you can grab it there when you get back to your computer.
Yeah.
but no notifications come through to it or anything like that. So you could go sit at a picnic table or a coffee shop with no, even though it's connected, it's not getting push notifications or anything like that.
Very cool.
And you can't just jump onto a browser or anything like that. You know, it's so easy to be like,
what I like about that too is you say it's fairly accurate converting what you write to text. I mean, it's so that's pretty amazing.
It is. And like, you know, it's so easy to have the best of intentions to sit down and work on a project and say, I'm here to think about this project.
Yeah.
And then we're like, oh, I wonder what a statistic would be on this. And then you hop on a browser and next thing you know, you've lost 30 minutes.
Sure.
Kind of going down a wormhole.
Yep.
Instead of just actually thinking. You know, like there's definitely a time for research and all that kind of stuff, but thinking time is not that time.
Right.
Like this would, my guess is somebody like Cal Newport, you know, deep work would like a device like this because you can kind of go off.
Sure.
And you mentioned another device. So this one's handwriting, but you mentioned another device that's kind of in the same category.
There's a company out there called FreeWrite. And I can't remember, it's freewrite.com, but they're kind of gearing towards, it's a similar distraction free, but for them, it's all about typing, right? For people that maybe are love the process of typing instead of writing their notes. But they want something outside of their traditional laptop that gives them access to everything in the world nowadays. Not to mention, there's some people out there that kind of like the old clunky keyboard, maybe the original IBM keyboards or the old typewriter feel, that don't like these new laptops where you hit the key and it's just like, you know how that is. I mean, we're old enough to.
So it's getfreewrite.com.
Get FreeWrite. There you go. Yeah, getfreewrite.com. So
oh wow, this thing's like really clunky looking. Like it
is. It's so clunky looking. It makes you
it's kind of cool looking. Yeah, it's kind of cool looking. Like it looks like the original word processors. Half our audience doesn't know what that looks like, but like
they even have a mini with a little clamshell type. It's like smaller than a laptop. But then the regular size, really clunky looking. Sean, you want to share that? Do you have it?
Yeah, I can share a screen real quick.
Just so people get an idea. This thing looks, I mean, you look at it, you're like, what? But it's got a little carrying handle. Yeah, that's the smaller, that's like the little portable.
Yeah, I don't want to
version.
Oh, dude, I just wanted the homepage. Where did it go? Where'd my homepage go?
So let's see. Yeah, there you go. So look at that. It looks like a typewriter.
Yeah, it looks like it's got the old like thick keyboard. I don't know what these things on the side are, but the screen's probably what, 5-inch screen or something.
Yeah, and it's like an e-reader screen, kind of like you would like a Kindle. If you're familiar with it, like one of the Kindle Light, it's got the e-reader, the ink light, or the e-ink or whatever. But so you can take it out in you don't have to worry about glare or anything like that. The way it's positioned, you write. There's no distractions, as it says there. No YouTube, social media, no browsing. Yeah. And what's cool about it, it's got send keys on there. So immediately when you're done typing out your document, there's 2 red keys. I think that's the red keys on the keyboard that you click like a send, and it just automatically sends to your documents. Yeah, wherever you want it to go. And then you can access it on your computer. It'll send it into Word format or whatever. So it's pretty cool.
That is really cool. Like there's a time, like I really enjoy the writing because I think there's something about handwriting and ideas that's different. But if I was like a fiction writer or something like that, I would I think I would probably use this.
Right.
Because I think it's just like, I don't know, for something about copywriting, I really like handwriting it out. I just think different when I write by hand.
Sure. Yeah.
But these are really cool. And I could see like how you how this would be kind of, that'd be really
because
fun.
I think it's meant for a lot of, people who do write. I mean, that's what their primary thing is, whether it's authors or, people that publish stories or what have you. That, I can't see this. I'm not sure the value for a, copywriter, because I feel like a copywriter, you've got, I think what you're using there is great, but for a copywriter, I feel like a lot of times they need to be connected to the internet for research, right? And pull things away.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think you could probably have a process. You could come up with a process where you do your research and you read it, and then you just, a lot of really good copywriters, what they will do is they will do all their research, really study it, and then set it aside, and then just free write.
Yeah.
And just kind of put in like insert quote here about this, insert quote. Right. So you could do it that way.
Right.
Especially if you're familiar with a niche. Emails would be great using this, like crafting emails. You could sit down and batch 10 emails in a series or something like that. That would be a great way to use a tool like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's really cool, because for those people that really like typing, I could see.
And there's no boot.
That would be so fun.
There's no lengthy process of booting up. As soon as you turn it on, it's like screen's ready to write. You shut it down. Battery life, I think they said the battery life on this thing lasts like a month or so, so it's like not like your laptop where you're having to charge it every day or whatever. So cool stuff. I love the idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be so fun to just like take that to a coffee shop. I'd be tapping away on that.
Oh yeah, you'll get attention for sure. People are
probably loud. It's like,
yeah,
what is he doing? Like, that's crazy. But yeah, I could really see that for like fiction writers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Poetry, anything that's especially more creative. Like you said, you don't need as much research or things, but even if you need research, you could probably make a draft pretty easily if you've done a little research, and then you want to write a little bit more pure with a little more voice. I think that a tool like that would be good. I mean, it's not cheap. I mean, both these products, this one was like $600. The thing that I'm the Remarkable 2, by the time you get the pin and a case for it, is like $700. So these aren't like cheap tools,
right?
But what's production, like actually creating something worth, is the question you have to ask.
Absolutely.
Because distraction is expensive too.
Sure is. Absolutely.
Man, that's all I've got.
Yeah, I think we covered a gamut of things. The 3 steps to hypnotic selling, some good ad copy, and from your
and the 26 reasons why people buy.
That's right. Absolutely.
The postcard, like the old school direct mail, and then the new school take on the legal pad. So this would be great for salespeople too.
I think it would be.
It's like you could just write it out there and treat it as your legal pad. Although, I don't know, for sales, I really like the legal pad.
I do too, but you've got my interest at the fact that it can transcribe your handwriting, and I don't have the greatest handwriting in the world, but
I don't either. It still gets it. So that's pretty amazing.
That's great. So that catches my interest, because I've always wanted something that, that's the problem with the iPad. You write it down and it's kind of that slick screen. So you can draw, and you can do some other things like that with the Apple Pencil and everything. But when it comes to translating that into normal text, it's very difficult for it to do that. So,
yeah, there's some apps that are supposed to do it, and there's like a screen protector that you can get that makes it feel more like writing.
Yeah,
but it's still got all the other things. It's still got the ease to jump on Facebook or wherever else.
Yep.
And get distracted. And so this is just one of those tools that literally, part of my routine now is like I make my coffee in the morning. I've only had this a few days, but it's like I now feel like I have a good tool that I can make my coffee in the morning, go out on the front porch, sit in the rocking chair, and like just write, journal.
Cool. Love it.
Write a sales, some idea, top 10 ideas for sales letters.
Sure.
and leave the phone inside, the computers inside, and just really focus. So we'll see how that evolves. We'll keep everybody updated, but I'm excited to use it.
Well, very cool. Well, thanks for listening. As always, you guys can find us over at persuasionbythepint.com. You can find us on all of your platforms, Stitcher Radio, iHeart, Spotify, you name it. And Sean, it's been fun. Love this episode. Love the ideas. And we'll see everyone next week. All right.